Hey everybody, we are back with another review, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different than we usually talk about on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about something 3D printing related. Now recently I just ran through an experiment. I wanted to check out how much could I physically print if I have a 1,000 kilogram spool of filament. What would it look like in plastic, in molten plastic reformed? What would it look like physically? And I wanted to see what that would be like. Now, that's hoping that I get no errors, no mess-ups, no anything. Misprints, any of that. Now, this took probably, I want to say about 8 days to print through the spool, but I printed through the whole spool. And again, I only had one little mishap, and I'll show you that mishap, but it really isn't that big of a mishap. It could still be, it's a still functional tool, so... Without further ado, let's hop right into this review and let's talk about how many things that I print with one 1,000 kilogram spool of filament. So I'm using Inland brand today, and this was PLA Plus, which I scooped up, or PLA Pro. And then here we go right here, this one. This is what a 1,000 kilogram spool looks like. So here's what it looks like when it's spent. Here's the spool that I use, and here's what was left. Again, PLA Plus, ran this at 215 nozzle temp, and then I did 65 degrees on the bed temp, and I did a 90% print speed. So it got really nice crispy prints. This was all that was left when I was done. I mean, I got a little bit of filament left. I could use this to do some nozzle cleaning or something. I could use this for something, you know what I'm saying? But that's all that was left. There's really nothing there. I mean, I really can't print anything with that. I could print like a little micro car, a couple micro cars or something with that maybe. But for the most part, you're not going to get any more printing out of that. It's over with. So what did we get printed? And what kind of waste did we come up with, right? That's the questions we're asking. First thing I printed we had was this milk crate, which I printed this milk crate. Now, everything today was also printed on 100% infill. So 100% infill today. Everything is solid today. So this is, if you're curious to see how much infill I did on these, that's what it is, 100% infill. So including this milk crate. 100% infill on the milk crate. It's solid. This is something that I scaled up so that I could put my IPA bottle in. It fits perfectly just to kind of help stop tip overs on the desktop. But this is a pretty cool little milk crate, and again, 100% infill with that bone PLA. It came out real nice on this. I mean, I have to clean it up a little bit. There's some parts I have to nick off here. You can see the little things I got to go in there with the nippers and get those. But that was the first thing that I printed. And then the next thing I jumped into was some of these thwacks. I printed 2 thwacks, which again, 100% infill on these. I mean, these are solid. These are really nice mallets, which are really great, especially if you're using a glass build plate for you to be able to tap off some of your models with your scraper. You can just give it a nice gentle tap so you're not actually like misfiring and cracking your glass with the thwack. But this is 100% infill, like I was telling you, and it came out really nice. You can see the way that head came out on that. The second one had a little bit of furries. I gotta cut those off, but for the most part, it came out really good. These are really nice pieces. Now these, unfortunately, these were the ones that actually caused the most waste out of everything here. Most of the stuff was really small minuscule pieces. Like, I know the milk crate had like little really thin plastic pieces that were in here on the handles for support. So that was like minimal, nothing to really speak of on the milk crate. But the thwacks did have, I printed these at a 30-degree angle. The thwacks did have a nice support bridge here, which is, this is about 20% infill, I'd say, on these. But these support bridges are, it looks like it'd be a lot of plastic, but it's really not. Like I said, 20% infill. So, you know, this was waste that had to happen because I wanted to print these with this particular PLA Plus. I wanted the thwacks with this type of filament. So this brings us up to, I guess, to our first thing. This was the only waste that I actually truly had from printing with the spool, with those 2 bridges right there from printing the thwacks. Because the thwacks, they printed like this. This is how the thwacks printed. So a nice 30-degree angle, they printed beautifully. So 2 thwacks and a little bit of waste and a milk crate so far. Next thing we tried, I only printed one of these. Didn't come out great, but it was a pry bar, a little pry bar for electronics, you know what I'm saying? You ever need to get like that processor or any of those chips off there, chipboards off of your circuit board, use a nice little pry bar like this, a nice plastic one. But something happened here on the corner here. It just kind of messed up. It didn't really print properly in that one corner in the little pry area right there. Probably could use some sanding, but a little bit of refinement. Maybe I'll give this part maybe I'll smooth this and grind this down and make this maybe like a plastic blade, a non-serrated blade, where it might be something where you can get under there and scoop under. So it's definitely a salvageable part, but it didn't come out the way that I intended it to, or else I would have probably printed a few more of these. But the pry bar was the next thing that I printed after the thwack. And then here's when we got into some of the fun stuff. So I ended up getting into some of these box openers. So I ended up printing 5 box openers, which is basically a plastic serrated knife, which is pretty cool. And it's actually quite sharp. You know, it basically, you know, it could do some work. You could use this as an EDC for sure. Something like packing it in your go bag, because it's lightweight and it's a plastic knife. You never know when you could use a plastic knife. So we got 5 box openers right there, box openers or serrated knife. So next up, I jumped into and I grabbed some more pry bars just of a different stature. Now these are 100% infill. All of these are, like I said earlier. Now this pry bar right here is actually really cool. It's actually a nice functional one. This is a little bit better version of this, which is why I only printed one of these. Because when I found this one, while I was printing the box openers, I was like, this is going to be the next one for sure. It's got this nice step to it. It's got a really nice wedged tip right there. It even has some gradual stepping motions. Got some really nice weight for leverage. It's even got a nice gripping hook on here and some traction on the side. And again, I printed 3 of these at 100% infill, and these came out beautifully, as you can see. Look at that. Freaking sick. So, some nice pry bars. Like I said, I really wanted to see a visual representation of everything that you could pretty much print with a 1,000 kilogram spool. So that was the main purpose of this. The things that I printed aren't really that important. It's really more so, what did I get to print? So the next thing I printed was some of these EDC. These are some rope slings right here. As you can see, it's a nice little sling here for a rope. It's not a box cutter or anything. There's no blade part in that little section. That's for wrapping cordage around. So I printed 4 of these. Again, 100% infill, so that they're nice and beefy. That's what we want. We wanted, these are all functional things. So these are like tools, if you would, that could be used for numerous things. I mean, especially this mallet. The mallet's probably the most functional out of all these. Box opener for sure. I imagine the teeth over time will get dull, but the mallet's not going to get dull over time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the mallet's, it's just a mallet, you know what I'm saying? The teeth will get dull over time on the box openers, and you have to either sharpen it or cut in some notches into that to make it sharper. But yeah, these are functional tools, if you would. And speaking of functional tools, the last thing that I printed was 3 slingshots. So we did 3 slingshots here. Very cool. You know what I'm saying? I even banded these up. We got 3 of them. They're identical. Now there was a little bit of light plastic here on these holes for the slingshots. All 3 of them had some very, very minimal, you know, bridges in there. But it printed flat, which I probably could have just took off supports, but I needed support on the other side because on the bottom side of these, there was also holes, and we wanted those to get support, so it did it on both sides. But anyway, this is what I was able to print with one 1,000 kilogram spool of PLA filament at 100% infill. This is what I was able to accomplish. I'm sure if you had less infill, you'd be able to accomplish more. But the things that I were looking to print with this spool were functional tools that I wanted to last, and not something that looked like a functional tool. Because a hammer with 20% infill is just going to cave in on you. You know what I'm saying? A hammer with 100% infill, this is actually a functional tool now. I mean, this is definitely a functional tool. I've used these to hammer in nails all the way into wood. So, and that's not even what those were intended for. These parts that I created here, some of the pry bars and stuff, and the hammers were more meant for more delicate pieces where I don't want to use something like a hammer where it's overkill, if you would, where a mallet would be perfect, or a nice pry bar like this would be great because it won't break the circuit chip. It won't break that electronic part that I'm maybe trying to pry out. It'll do it nice and soft and gentle, and it won't put too much tension on it. So, and that was the main purpose of this video, which was what spurred the whole experiment in the first place. So, why don't you let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about all the things that I printed with one spool of PLA Plus from Micro Center? And again, this is what I had left, which is literally nothing. If you know, this is like this isn't even the amount that you get for a free sample of filament from somebody at like a trade show. So, but let me know down in the comments below, what did you think about all the stuff that I got? I mean, I tried to do minimal waste. This was the only two things that were wasted. So maybe I could have printed 2 more box openers with the amount of PLA that was used with these. But for the most part, I mean, super minimal, and we ended up getting almost down to the end of the spool. So let me know down in the comments below, what you think of the things that I printed, and what do you think of this little experiment? And if you did an experiment like this, let me know your video link down in the comments below as well. And yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Want more content like this, subscribe for more, because I do reviews every single day, so look out for that, and have a great rest of your day.